The fluorescent lights of the subway car flickered like dying stars. Maya pressed her forehead against the cool metal pole, her feet screaming in protest after 14 hours split between the morning diner shift and the evening hotel cleaning rotation. The third job, the weekend bakery gig, waited for her tomorrow at 4 a.m. $43 in tips tonight. Barely enough to cover the late rent notice tucked in her apron pocket. Her vision blurred at the edges, exhaustion pulling at her bones like gravity had suddenly doubled. The subway lurched around a corner. Maya's grip on the pole loosened. Just for a second, she told herself. Just close your eyes for 1 second. The train swayed. Her knees buckled, and instead of catching herself on the pole, she fell backward into what should have been empty space. But it wasn't empty. She landed on something solid. Warm. Definitely not a subway seat. Oh God. Maya's eyes flew open. She'd collapsed directly into someone's lap. A man's lap. Horror flooded through her exhaustion as she tried to scramble up, her hands bracing against what felt like a very expensive coat. "I'm so sorry I didn't," she started, but a hand settled gently on her shoulder. Firm. Unyielding. "Stay." The voice was quiet, barely audible over the subway's rattle, but it wrapped around her like silk and steel. She froze. Something in that single word made her body obey before her mind could protest. The hand on her shoulder wasn't grabbing or groping. It was steadying. Almost protective. As if he thought she might fall again if he let go. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She tried to turn, to see who she'd collapsed on, but her body was too tired to cooperate. The exhaustion that had been threatening to drown her all day finally crashed over her in a wave. "I should," she mumbled. "I need to." "Rest," the voice said again. It was closer now, as if he'd leaned down slightly. His breath didn't touch her neck, but she felt the presence of him, solid and strangely safe behind her. "You're going to hurt yourself." "I'm fine," Maya lied, even as her eyelids drooped. "Just tired. I have another shift in." "When?" 6 hours. The silence that followed felt heavy with something she couldn't name. Then, quieter than before. "Sleep. I'll wake you at your stop." That should have terrified her. A strange man on the subway at midnight telling her to sleep in his lap should have sent every alarm bell in her head screaming. But Maya was so far past tired that fear felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. And there was something about his voice. It didn't sound threatening. It sounded sad. Maybe even lonely. Like he understood what it felt like to be bone-tired in a city that never stopped moving. Her eyes closed. Just for a minute, she bargained with herself. Then, I'll get up and apologize properly. But the warmth beneath her, the steady presence at her back, and the gentle weight of that hand on her shoulder felt safer than her own apartment ever had. The subway rocked her like a cradle. Maya's last conscious thought was that he smelled like night rain in old libraries, like something that didn't quite belong in the fluorescent mundane world of the midnight train. Then sleep pulled her under. She didn't see the way every passenger in the car had gone perfectly still, didn't notice how they'd all found sudden, urgent reasons to stare at their phones or out the windows, anything to avoid looking directly at the man whose lap she'd collapsed into. Didn't catch the mix of fear and desperate curiosity in their eyes, because even if Maya didn't recognize him, they did. King Matthias Blackwell, vampire sovereign of the Eastern Territories. One of the 7 lords who'd ruled the night for 3 centuries, sitting on the midnight subway, in a black wool coat, looking almost human except for the absolute stillness of his posture and the way shadows seemed to pool around him even under the fluorescent lights. He never took the subway. Never moved through the human world without guards and protocol and careful distance. But tonight, for reasons he hadn't shared with anyone, He'd dismissed his security and walked among the mortals like a ghost haunting his own kingdom. And now, this exhausted human woman had fallen asleep in his lap. Matthias looked down at her. Really looked. Dark circles bruised the skin under her eyes. Her hands, resting limply in her lap, were rough with work. Nails bitten short, the name tag pinned crookedly to her waitress uniform read Maya in fading letters. She smelled like coffee and cleaning chemicals and the particular desperation of someone working themselves to death just to survive. Something in his chest, something he'd thought had turned to stone decades ago, cracked. When was the last time anyone had touched him without fear, without calculation or agenda? This woman had collapsed into his arms by pure accident, too exhausted to even register who or what he was. And now, she was sleeping, trusting him completely in her vulnerability, not because she knew him, but because her body had simply given up caring about danger. The subway slowed for the next stop. Matthias felt her stir slightly, a small sound of distress escaping her throat as the change in motion threatened to wake her. His hand, still on her shoulder, tightened fractionally. "Stay," he murmured again, and she settled immediately, sinking deeper into sleep. He told himself he was being practical. If she woke and realized where she was, the shock might cause a scene. Better to let her rest until her stop, wherever that was. But the truth sat heavier in his chest. For 3 months, since his daughter Sarah had stopped speaking, he'd been searching for something. Someone. A human with the gift of true sight. Someone who could see beyond the surface of things into the emotional truth beneath. His seers had tracked reports across the city. Humans with synesthesia. With the rare ability to perceive emotions as colors, sounds, as tangible sensory experiences. Only 1 in 10,000 had the gift. Only 1 in a million had it strong enough to help his daughter. And as Maya slept against him, Matthias saw it. The faint shimmer of color that clung to her skin like morning dew. Soft lavender shot through with threads of gold and deep, exhausted gray. She was seeing his emotions even in sleep, reading the loneliness and old grief that hung around him like a cloak. Her gift was strong. Maybe strong enough. The subway doors opened and closed. Passengers got on and off, giving them a wide berth. Matthias didn't move. For the first time in months, he felt something other than helpless rage at his daughter's silence. He felt hope. And this sleeping woman, who'd stumbled into his life by pure accident, might be the answer he'd been searching for. If she agreed to help. If he could convince her to enter his world. If she survived what he was about to ask of her. The subway rattled on through the midnight city, and King Matthias Blackwell, who'd conquered territories and commanded armies, sat perfectly still, letting an exhausted waitress sleep in his lap, and tried to figure out how to ask her to save his daughter's life. Maya woke to the gentle pressure of fingers on her shoulder, and a voice that felt like warm honey in the dark. "This is your stop." Her eyes opened slowly, confusion muddling her thoughts. The subway. She'd fallen asleep. On someone. Oh God, she'd fallen asleep on someone. Maya jerked upright, nearly stumbling as the train swayed. Strong hands steadied her, then immediately released. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, finally turning to face the person she'd been using as a pillow for who knew how long. The apology died in her throat. He was beautiful. Not handsome in the normal way, but beautiful like winter was beautiful. Like something dangerous and perfect that would kill you if you weren't careful. Sharp cheekbones, dark hair that brushed his collar, and eyes the color of steel and starlight. He wore an expensive black coat over darker clothes, and he sat with the kind of perfect stillness that made everyone around him look like they were vibrating. But it wasn't his appearance that made Maya's breath catch. It was the colors. She'd had synesthesia since childhood, seeing emotions as ribbons of color and light around people. Usually it was subtle, easy to ignore. But this man, he blazed with it. Deep midnight blue threaded with silver, loneliness so profound it looked like the space between stars. And underneath, a thin, desperate thread of gold. Hope, she realized. He's hoping for something. Don't apologize, he said quietly. His voice matched his colors, beautiful and sad. You needed rest. The train doors opened. This is your stop, he repeated. Unless I was wrong about the address. Maya's fuzzy brain tried to process that. How do you know where I? Your name tag, he said, nodding toward her uniform. I saw the street name written on the back in permanent marker. People do that when they're worried about losing things. She glanced down. Someone at the diner had written her address on the inside of her name tag months ago, back when she'd first started and kept forgetting to take it home. Right, she said, still feeling off balance. Thank you for letting me sleep. For keeping you safe. His eyes met hers, and Maya saw the colors around him shift. The blue deepened. The gold brightened. You're welcome. She should leave. The doors were already starting to beep their warning. But something made her pause. Are you okay? The question surprised them both. His eyebrows rose fractionally. Why do you ask? Because you look sad. The words came out before she could stop them. Maya clapped a hand over her mouth. I'm sorry, that was rude. I didn't. I am sad. He said it simply, as if she'd asked about the weather. And you're the first person to notice in a very long time. The doors beeped again, more insistently. Maya hesitated. Then, because exhaustion had apparently destroyed her sense of self-preservation, she pulled a pen from her apron and scribbled her number on a napkin. If you ever need someone to talk to. She thrust the napkin at him and fled through the closing doors, her face burning. She didn't look back, couldn't bear to see if he was laughing at her or worse, looking at her with pity. But if she had turned around, she would have seen King Matthias Blackwell staring at the napkin in his hand, like it was a holy relic, would have seen the way the gold thread of hope in his colors grew brighter, stronger, would have seen him carefully fold the napkin and tuck it in his inner coat pocket, right over his heart. Maya's apartment was a fourth-floor walk-up with a broken elevator and a radiator that clanked like it was trying to communicate with ghosts. She kicked off her shoes, too tired to care where they landed, and collapsed on her second-hand couch. Her phone buzzed. Rent reminder from her landlord. Electricity bill due in 3 days. She should be worried, should be calculating how many extra shifts she needed. But all she could think about was the sad man on the subway with colors like a midnight ocean. And the way he'd kept her safe while she slept. Maya was still thinking about him when sleep claimed her again, still in her waitress uniform, too exhausted to make it to the bed. She dreamed in colors, deep blue and silver and gold. 3 days later, Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. Yes? She answered, wedging the phone between her shoulder and ear while she scrubbed tables at the diner. Is this Maya Winters? The voice made her drop her cleaning rag. It was him. The subway stranger. Her heart did something complicated in her chest. Yes? How did you? You gave me your number, he said, and she could hear something almost like amusement in his tone. 3 days ago. Right. Obviously. Maya grabbed her rag, her face heating. I didn't think you'd actually call. I need to ask you something. It's going to sound strange. She laughed. Stranger than me falling asleep on a random person on the subway? Silence. Then, quieter, much stranger than that. I need your help, and I'm willing to pay you a considerable amount for your time. Suspicion crept in, cooling her initial excitement. What kind of help? Not that kind, he said quickly, as if reading her thoughts. Nothing inappropriate. I need, he paused. She heard him take a breath. My daughter stopped speaking 3 months ago. She's 6 years old. Every therapist, every specialist, no one can reach her. But I've been researching your condition. Synesthesia, the ability to see emotions as colors. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. How do you know about that? I saw it when you looked at me. On the subway. The colors around me shifted in your eyes. You see what people feel, don't you? Not people, Maya corrected automatically. Most people are too faint. But you, she stopped, unsure how to explain it. I blazed. He finished softly. Didn't I? Yes. I think my daughter needs someone who can see her. Really see what she's feeling when she can't find the words to say it. I think you might be the only person who can help her. Maya's shift manager was glaring at her from across the diner. This is crazy, she said. I don't know you. I don't know anything about helping traumatized children. I could teach you. And I would pay you $5,000 a week. Maya nearly dropped the phone. What? $10,000 if you move into the house. So you're available when Sarah needs you. That's insane. Yes, he agreed. It probably is. Will you consider it anyway? She should say no. Should hang up and block the number and forget about mysterious sad men on subways who offered impossible amounts of money. But $5,000 a week. 10 if she lived there. That was more than she made in 3 months. That was rent and bills and maybe, finally, a chance to stop drowning. What's your name? She asked. Matthias, he said. Matthias Blackwell. Where do you live? He gave her an address in the historic district. Old money territory. The kind of neighborhood where Maya only went to clean other people's houses. When can you come meet Sarah? Tomorrow, Maya heard herself say. I have the day off. Tomorrow then. And Maya, thank you for giving a sad stranger your number. He hung up before she could respond. Maya stared at her phone, at the address she'd scribbled on her order pad, and wondered what she'd just agreed to. The colors around her own reflection in the diner window swirled with fear and excitement and desperate, fragile hope. Tomorrow she'd meet a little girl who couldn't speak. Tomorrow she'd step into a world that probably didn't want people like her. Tomorrow, her life would change. She just didn't realize how much. The Blackwell house wasn't a house. It was a mansion that looked like it had been transplanted from a Gothic novel. All dark stone and tall windows and iron gates that probably cost more than Maya's entire apartment building. She stood outside those gates at exactly 2 o'clock, as instructed, wearing her only nice dress, and fighting the urge to run. A woman appeared at the gate so suddenly that Maya jumped. Pale skin, dark suit, eyes that assessed Maya in one swift, cold glance. You're the synesthete. Not a question. Maya nodded. The woman unlocked the gate with a key that looked like it belonged in a museum. I'm Helena, head of household staff. His Majesty is waiting in the East Parlor. His Majesty? Maya followed Helena up a stone path lined with roses that bloomed despite it being late October. What kind of? She stopped. Helena had paused at the front door, her expression carefully neutral. Mr. Blackwell prefers certain formalities. You'll understand soon enough. The inside of the house was beautiful in a way that made Maya feel like she was trespassing. Marble floors, oil paintings in heavy frames, a chandelier that scattered light like diamonds. Everything whispered old money and older secrets. Helena led her through a hallway that seemed to stretch forever, finally stopping at a door carved with intricate patterns. Wait here. She knocked twice and disappeared inside. Maya waited, her heart hammering. Through the door she heard low voices. Helena's clipped tones, and then his voice. Matthias, deeper than she remembered. Show her in. The door opened. Maya stepped through and stopped breathing. The parlor was full of people, at least a dozen, all dressed formally, all turning to stare at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. But Maya barely saw them. Because the colors, oh God, the colors. Every person in the room blazed with emotion so bright it was like staring into the sun. Reds and golds and dark purples. Jealousy and suspicion and fear all swirling together in a storm that made her eyes water. She'd never seen so many people with such strong colors before. What are they? Matthias was there suddenly, his hand on her elbow, steadying her. He must have crossed the room in an instant. Maya. Look at me. She did. His colors were still the midnight blue and silver she remembered, but now there was concern threading through them, warm amber light. Breathe, he said quietly. I should have warned you. What are they? She whispered again. Vampires, he said simply. We're all vampires. And you're standing in a room full of my court, trying not to faint. The world tilted. Matthias's grip tightened, keeping her upright. Vampires. Real vampires. She should run, should scream. But through her shock, one thought cut clear. His colors hadn't lied. Sadness, loneliness, hope. They were all real. Whatever he was, his emotions were genuine. I need to sit down, Maya managed. Matthias guided her to a chair, waving off the others when they moved closer. She needs a moment. Give us space. The room emptied with surprising speed, though Maya caught the whispers as people left. A human. He brought a human here. Is he mad? When the door closed behind the last person, Matthias knelt in front of her chair. His eyes were level with hers now, and she could see the inhuman stillness of him, the way he didn't quite breathe the way humans did. I'm sorry, he said. I should have told you before you came. Why didn't you? Because you wouldn't have believed me. Or you would have believed me and never come near my daughter. He was right. Maya pressed her hands to her face, trying to process. Vampires. Real vampires. And she'd fallen asleep on a vampire king's lap on the subway. The absurdity of it almost made her laugh. Is your daughter? Is Sarah? Half human, Matthias said quietly. Her mother was human. Was? She died 3 years ago. That's when Sarah stopped speaking completely. After the funeral, Maya lowered her hands, looked at him. Really looked. The colors around him shifted as she watched. Pain, old and deep, guilt. And underneath it all, desperate love for a child who couldn't tell him what she needed. You really think I can help her? I think you're the only one who can see what she's feeling. The therapists, they try, but they're working blind. You could see if she's afraid, or sad, or angry. You could help her communicate when words fail. That's a lot of pressure to put on a waitress with a weird neurological condition. I know. His hand moved, almost touched hers, then stopped. I'm asking anyway. Because I'm out of options and my daughter is disappearing into silence, and I would give anything, risk anything, to bring her back. The gold in his colors flared. True desperation. True love. Maya took a breath. If I do this, if I try, there are rules. I'm not. She gestured vaguely. I'm not interested in the vampire thing, in being food or a pet or whatever. You're a person, Matthias said firmly. You'll be treated as such. Anyone who suggests otherwise will answer to me. And the money? $5,000 a week if you commute. 10 if you live here. Paid regardless of results. You're not obligated to stay if it doesn't work. She should still say no, should walk out and forget any of this happened. But $10,000 a week. And a little girl who needed help, and a father whose colors showed nothing but genuine love and desperation. I want to meet her first, Maya said. Before I decide anything, I want to meet Sarah. Relief flooded Matthias's face, turning his colors momentarily bright. Of course, she's in her playroom. Follow me. He stood, offering his hand. Maya took it. His skin was cool but not cold. Solid. Real. He led her back through the hallways, up a grand staircase, down another corridor lined with portraits of severe-looking people who all shared Matthias's sharp features. The playroom was at the end of the hall, behind a door painted soft blue. Matthias knocked gently. "Sarah? There's someone I'd like you to meet." No answer. He opened the door. The playroom was large and bright, full of toys that looked expensive and barely touched. And in the corner, curled up in a window seat with a book, was the smallest child Maya had ever seen. Sarah Blackwell was tiny for 6, with her father's dark hair and eyes that were too old for her face. She wore a purple dress and white tights, and she didn't look up when they entered. But Maya saw her colors. "Oh." The word slipped out before she could stop it. Because Sarah's colors were like nothing Maya had ever seen. They shifted constantly, swirling through the spectrum so fast it was dizzying. Fear and confusion and grief and anger and love, all tangled together in a not so complex Maya couldn't tell where one emotion ended and another began. This child was drowning in feelings she couldn't express. "Sarah," Matthias said softly. "This is Maya. She's going to visit with us for a while." The girl still didn't look up, but her colors spiked red. Fear. Maya knelt slowly, keeping distance between them. She pulled a pen and paper from her purse, the same pen she'd used to write her number on a napkin. "Can you see colors around people?" She wrote it large, clear. Held it up. Sarah's head lifted, just slightly. Maya wrote again. "I can. I see them around you right now. You're feeling a lot of things all at once." Sarah's eyes met hers for the first time. They were dark and deep and full of question. Maya smiled. Wrote one more line. "I see you. All of you. And I'm going to help you show your dad what you need." The colors around Sarah shifted. The red faded. Soft blue appeared, hesitant and fragile. Hope. The little girl uncurled from the window seat, took 3 careful steps forward, and placed her small hand in Maya's palm. Behind them, Matthias made a sound. When Maya looked back, his colors were blazing gold, so bright it hurt to see. It was the first time Sarah had touched anyone voluntarily in 3 months. Maya moved into the Blackwell mansion on a rainy Tuesday with 1 suitcase and a growing sense of unreality. Helena showed her to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment. Private bathroom, walk-in closet, windows overlooking gardens that probably required a full-time staff to maintain. "This is too much," Maya said, staring at the 4-poster bed with its silk canopy. "It's what we have available." Helena's tone suggested the discussion was over. "Dinner is at 7. His Majesty and Miss Sarah dine in the small dining room. You're expected to join them." It wasn't a request. The small dining room could have fit 50 people comfortably. Matthias sat at one end of a table long enough to play tennis on, Sarah beside him in a chair with a cushion to boost her height. They'd left a place setting directly across from Sarah. For Maya. "Thank you for joining us," Matthias said as a servant pulled out her chair. He wore a dark suit that probably cost more than her car. "Sarah needs routine. Meals together are important." Sarah watched Maya with those 2 old eyes. Her colors a careful, neutral blue. Testing. Waiting to see if Maya would stay. Maya sat. A plate appeared in front of her, food arranged so artfully it seemed criminal to eat it. "So," she said, because someone had to break the silence. "Do you actually eat? Or is this just for show?" Matthias's lips twitched. "We eat. We don't need to as frequently as humans, but we enjoy it. The food helps us seem normal." "Nothing about this is normal," Maya said. She looked at Sarah. "Your dad is a vampire king. You're a vampire princess. And I'm a waitress who sees emotions as colors. We're probably the least normal family dinner in the city." Sarah's colors sparked. A flash of gold. Amusement. The little girl's mouth curved, just slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. It was enough. Over the next week, Maya learned the rules of living in a vampire house. Don't go into the West Wing after dark. Don't ask questions about the locked basement. Don't be surprised when people appear and disappear with supernatural speed. And most importantly, don't mention blood. They fed from donors who came willingly, Matthias explained. Compensated handsomely. Carefully screened. Nothing like the myths. Maya tried not to think about it too hard. She focused on Sarah instead. Every day she sat with the little girl in the playroom. She brought colored pencils and paper, and together they drew feelings. Red for angry. Blue for sad. Yellow for happy. Green for scared. Slowly, painstakingly, Sarah began to communicate. She drew a picture of a woman with golden hair, pointed to herself, then the woman, then drew a big black scribble over the woman's face. Your mom, Maya said gently. You miss your mom. Sarah nodded. Drew more. The woman lying down, flowers around her, people in black, herself standing far away, alone, surrounded by dark blue and gray. You felt alone at the funeral, Maya translated. Like no one saw how sad you were. Another nod. More tears. Maya pulled the child into her arms. Sarah stiffened. Then slowly, carefully, relaxed. Her colors shifted from dark blue to soft purple. Comfort. Being held. I see you, Maya whispered. I see how much it hurts. That evening Maya showed Matthias the drawings. He stared at them for a long time, his colors cycling through pain and guilt and grief. I didn't know, he said finally. At the funeral she seemed so calm. I thought she was handling it better than I was. She was 6, Maya said gently. She didn't know how to show you what she felt, so she stopped showing anything at all. His hands clenched on the table. I failed her. You didn't know. You were grieving too. I should have seen. You're seeing now. Maya touched his hand briefly. That's what matters. She's starting to communicate. It's slow, but we're making progress. What does she need from me? Be there, Maya said. Not just physically. Emotionally. Show her what you feel. She needs to know it's safe to have big emotions. Over the following weeks, Maya watched Matthias transform. He started sitting on the floor with Sarah during their color sessions. Started drawing his own feelings. Black for grief. Red for frustration. Gold for love. So much love. Sarah watched her father draw himself as a dark figure surrounded by storms, and her small hand reached out to add yellow sun to his picture. You make me happy too, he signed. He'd been learning sign language, just in case Sarah preferred hands to pictures. She touched his drawing, then drew herself. Added the same yellow sun. We're both sad, Maya translated, but we make each other happy too. Matthias picked up his daughter and held her like she might disappear. His colors were so bright Maya had to look away. Thank you, he said to Maya over Sarah's head. Thank you for giving her back to me. I didn't do anything. You saw her. He met her eyes. That's everything. But their peaceful progress shattered on a cold November night. Maya woke to screaming. She ran down the hallway in her pajamas, following the sound to Sarah's room. The little girl was sitting up in bed, shrieking without words, her colors a violent tornado of red and black and sickly green. Terror. Matthias was already there, trying to calm her, but his touch only made her scream louder. She's afraid of you, Maya realized. Seeing the colors spike when he reached for her, something scared her, and now she's afraid. Matthias stepped back, anguish clear on his face. Maya approached the bed slowly. Sarah, sweetie, I'm here. Can you show me what's wrong? The screaming cut off. Sarah launched herself at Maya, small arms wrapping tight around her neck. Maya held her, feeling the child's heart race like a trapped bird. What frightened you? But Sarah was looking past Maya. At the window. Maya turned, saw nothing. Just darkness and rain. Then a flash of lightning illuminated a face pressed against the glass. Pale. Fangs bared. Eyes glowing red. Maya's scream joined Sarah's. Matthias moved faster than thought. He was at the window, wrenching it open, disappearing into the night. Sounds of a struggle outside. Crashes. A inhuman shriek cut short. Then silence. Maya held Sarah tighter, both of them shaking. "Don't look," she whispered. "Don't look outside." Matthias returned through the window, rain dripping from his hair. There was blood on his collar. His colors were pure rage, red and black and violent. "Gone," he said. "They won't come back." "Who?" Maya demanded. "What was that?" He looked at Sarah, then Maya. Not here. Not in front of her. But later, after Sarah finally fell asleep between them on her bed and the sun started rising, Matthias told Maya the truth. "There are vampires who don't follow my rules, who think humans are prey, not people. They don't like that I've brought you here. That I'm treating you as family. They want to make a statement." "By hurting Sarah?" "By hurting you." His colors went dark. "I won't let them. I'm doubling security. You'll have guards," but Maya was already shaking her head. "I can't. If staying here puts Sarah in danger, you being here keeps her alive," Matthias said fiercely. "You've brought her back from the edge. If you leave now, she'll break. And I will break. Please." His hand found hers in the dim light. "Please don't go." Maya looked at Sarah, sleeping peacefully now, her colors finally calm, looked at Matthias, whose colors showed nothing but desperate sincerity. She thought about walking away, going back to her safe, small life. But these people needed her, and somewhere along the way, she'd started needing them too. "Okay," she said. "I'll stay. But you teach me how to defend myself. If someone comes for me, I'm not going down easy." Matthias's expression shifted, respect mixing with his relief. "Done." And Maya. "I'll keep you safe." "I promise." His colors blazed with gold. Truth. She believed him. Outside, dawn broke over the mansion. Inside, a makeshift family held together by colors and trust and desperate love made plans to face the dark. Training to defend yourself against vampires, Maya discovered, was significantly harder than training to defend yourself against humans. Especially when your instructor could move faster than you could blink and had supernatural strength. Again, Matthias said as Maya picked herself up from the training mat for the 10th time that morning. She grabbed the wooden stake he'd given her. It felt ridiculous in her hand. "This won't work. You're too fast. I'm holding back considerably. Real vampires won't." He moved. Maya tried to track him, but he was already behind her, his hand gentle on her spine. "Dead." "Try again." They'd converted a basement room into a training space. Mats on the floor, weapons on the walls. Everything designed to teach Maya how to survive if the wrong vampire came calling. 2 weeks since the attack at Sarah's window. 2 weeks of guards stationed around the mansion, of checking locks and windows, of teaching Sarah that being afraid was okay but being smart was better. Maya spun, stake leading. Matthias caught her wrist easily. "Too slow. You're thinking like a human. Think like prey trying to outthink a predator. That's a terrible pep talk." He smiled slightly. "You're doing better than most." Maya had noticed something in their training sessions. When they fought, even in practice, Matthias's colors shifted. The sadness faded. The loneliness dimmed. Action gave him purpose, made him feel less helpless. He needed this as much as she did. "Show me again," she said. "How you moved last time." He demonstrated, a blur of motion that her eyes couldn't quite follow. Maya watched his colors instead, saw them shift microseconds before he moved. "There." She pointed. "Your colors change right before you commit. Like a tell in poker." He stopped. Stared at her. "No one's ever noticed that before, because no one else can see what I see. Show me every vampire's colors before they attack. If I can learn to read the patterns, I might be able to predict movement." Matthias's expression shifted. Impressed, approving. His colors went warm gold. "You're brilliant," he said quietly. Maya's face heated. "I'm just working with what I have. It's more than that." He moved closer, not threatening, just present. "You see the world differently than anyone I've ever met. It makes you dangerous in ways that have nothing to do with stakes and weapons." Before she could respond, the door opened. Helena stood there, her expression carved from ice. "Your Majesty. The council has arrived. They're demanding an audience." Matthias's colors went cold. Now, they're in the main hall, with representatives from the old families. He swore quietly. "Stay here," he said to Maya. "This doesn't concern you." The way Helena's colors spiked, pure red hostility, suggested it absolutely concerned Maya. The council met in a room that looked like it belonged in a medieval castle. High ceilings, tapestries on the walls, a circular table where 12 vampires sat in ornate chairs. Matthias took the 13th seat, the largest at the table's head. Maya, ignoring his order to stay behind, slipped in through a side door and positioned herself in the shadows. She'd learned vampires had excellent hearing, but their vision in bright light was sometimes worse than humans, and this room was blazingly lit with chandeliers. A vampire with silver hair and colors like dried blood spoke first. "Matthias, we need to discuss your human." The way he said it made it sound like an insult. "Lady Margaret," Matthias said coldly. "If you have concerns, state them plainly. You've brought a mortal into your house, given her access to the air, allowed her to influence the child. It's unprecedented, dangerous. She's helping my daughter communicate. That's all that matters." Another vampire, younger, with colors that swirled between purple envy and green ambition. "It sends a message that humans are equals, that they belong in our world. They don't." "My world," Matthias said softly, dangerously. "And in my world, anyone who helps my daughter is welcome." The room erupted, voices talking over each other, accusations flying. "Humans are food, not family. You're making us look weak. The old laws forbid this." Maya watched the colors in the room spiral into chaos. Anger, fear, hatred, all directed at Matthias. At her. Then she saw it. In the corner, a vampire she didn't recognize. His colors were wrong. Not the emotional palette she usually saw, but something else. Something magical. Dark purple threaded with sickly green. And those colors were reaching toward Matthias like poisoned vines. Magic. Someone was using magic on him. Maya moved before thinking. Stepped out of the shadows. "Excuse me." The room went silent. 12 vampires turned to stare at her. Matthias's expression flashed between anger and concern. "Maya, I told you to stay." "I know. But someone in this room is using magic." She pointed at the vampire in the corner. "Him. Dark spell. Aimed at you." The vampire's colors flared. Panic, guilt. He bolted for the door. Didn't make it 2 steps before Matthias was on him, moving with violence Maya had never seen. The king slammed the vampire against the wall hard enough to crack stone. "What did you do?" The vampire thrashed. "Nothing. The girl is lying." Maya walked closer. She could see the magic more clearly now. Dark threads connecting this vampire to an object in his pocket. A talisman. Charm magic. Designed to cloud judgment, increase paranoia. She'd read about it in the books Matthias had given. "He has a charm," she said. "Left pocket. Matthias reached in, pulled out a small stone etched with symbols. The moment it left the vampire's pocket, the dark colors in the room dissipated. The council members blinked, looking confused. "What?" Lady Margaret started. "What just happened? You were spelled," Maya said. "All of you. To make you angrier, more suspicious. Someone wanted this meeting to end badly." The room exploded again, but this time directed at the vampire Matthias held. "Who gave you this?" Matthias demanded. "Who ordered you to spell my council?" The vampire stayed silent. Matthias's hand moved to his throat. "Talk, or I demonstrate why challenging a king is unwise." The vampire's colors broke, fear overriding loyalty. "The purists. They hired me. Said you needed to be removed, that the human was making you weak." Matthias threw him toward the guards who'd appeared at the door. "Dungeon. We'll continue this conversation later." As they dragged the vampire away, Matthias turned to the council. His colors were pure authority now. Gold and deep blue, absolute command. "Let me be very clear. Maya Winters is under my protection. She is helping my daughter. Anyone who threatens her threatens Sarah, and anyone who threatens my child will answer to me personally. Is that understood?" The council nodded, subdued. Their colors showed respect, fear, understanding. "You saved them," Helena said quietly to Maya as the meeting dissolved. "That vampire's spell was subtle. Without you, they might have turned on Matthias. Tried to remove him. I just saw colors," Maya said. "Anyone with synesthesia could have." "No." Helena's expression was unreadable. "Anyone with synesthesia could see emotions. You see magic. That's different. That's rare." Before Maya could ask what that meant, Matthias was there. His hand found hers. "Thank you. You shouldn't have had to do that. I'm sorry you were exposed." "I'm not." Maya squeezed his fingers. "If I'm staying, I should know what we're up against." "We." The word seemed to surprise him. His colors shifted, warming. "We." He agreed. "And what we're up against is a group called the Purists. Vampires who want to return to the old ways, humans as cattle, not people. They've been quiet for decades, but my bringing you into the family has stirred them up." "How many?" "Enough to be dangerous." He looked tired suddenly. "I can fight them, but it might get ugly." "Then teach me to fight uglier," Maya said. She pulled the wooden stake from her belt. "I'm not running, and I'm not letting them hurt Sarah." Matthias stared at her. Then, slowly, he smiled. It transformed his face, made him look younger. Human almost. "You're extraordinary," he said. "You know that? I'm stubborn. Same thing." He was still holding her hand. Maya became acutely aware of it, of the way his colors had gone soft gold and deep blue, peaceful for the first time since she'd met him, of the way he was looking at her like she'd hung the moon. "This is complicated," she said quietly. "Very," he agreed, but didn't let go. Sarah found them in the hallway 10 minutes later. She stopped, looked at their joined hands, and her colors went bright yellow. "Happy." She signed something. Maya laughed. "What did she say?" Matthias asked. She said, her voice surprised them both. It was quiet, rusty from disuse, but clear. Finally. Sarah had spoken. For the first time in months she'd used her voice. And the word she chose said everything about what she saw happening between the two people she loved most. Sarah's voice returned like spring after a long winter. Slowly, tentatively, but growing stronger each day. She started with single words. "Yes. No. Thank you." Then phrases. "Can we draw? I'm hungry. I had a bad dream." Matthias cried the first time she said, "I love you, Daddy." His colors blazed so bright Maya had to look away. But voice or no voice, Sarah's favorite way to communicate was still through colors and pictures. She understood emotions better than words, felt them more deeply than most adults. Like Maya, she saw the world through a different lens. Which was why she noticed the change in her father's colors before anyone else. "You like Maya," she signed to Matthias one morning at breakfast. "Not just friend-like, love-like." Matthias choked on his coffee. Very human of him. Where did you learn that sign? TV, Sarah said primly. People get different colors when they love someone. Yours do that around Maya. Do not, Matthias argued. But his colors went pink. Embarrassment, Sarah giggled. Do too. From her seat across the table, Maya tried to focus on her eggs. Tried not to think about the way Matthias's hand had lingered on hers last night when he'd taught her a new defensive move. The way his colors always softened when she entered a room. The way she'd started looking for excuses to be near him. It was complicated. She was human. He was vampire. She was his employee. He was a king. They lived in different worlds that barely intersected. Except they didn't anymore. Not really. Maya had been living in the mansion for 2 months. She'd learned the routines, the protocols, the careful dance of vampire politics. She'd made friends with some of the household staff, earned grudging respect from the council, and become something like a mother figure to Sarah. She belonged here in a way she'd never belonged anywhere. And Matthias. Matthias looked at her like she'd saved his world. Maybe because she had. Later that afternoon, Maya found him in his study. Papers scattered across his desk. His colors frustrated gray and tired blue. Working on purest intelligence, he explained. They've gone quiet since the council incident. I don't trust it. Maybe they gave up. Vampires don't give up. They bide time. His hand rubbed his face. I need to find them before they try something else. Can I help? He looked up. Smiled slightly. You already are. Just being here makes Sarah happy, which makes me less likely to declare war on everyone who annoys me. That's a low bar. He laughed. It really is. Maya moved closer. Looked at the papers. Lists of names, locations, reported sightings. All the intelligence pointed to the purists gathering somewhere in the city. Planning something. You're worried they'll target Sarah again. Or you. Matthias set down his pen. Come here. She did. He pulled her gently to stand between him and the desk, his hands resting on her waist. Light. Careful. Always careful with her. I need to tell you something, he said. What we're doing here. This. Us. It's against tradition. Vampire kings don't typically form attachments to humans. I know. But I don't care about tradition. His colors shifted, gold and deep blue and something new, something that looked like dawn breaking. I care about you. And I think you might care about me too. Maya's heart did complicated things in her chest. I do. But it's complicated, he finished. I know. You're right. We should be sensible, practical. Instead, he kissed her. Gentle and careful and nothing like the vampire myth suggested. His lips were cool, but not cold. His hands cradled her face like she was precious. And his colors. They exploded like sunrise, gold and pink and radiant blue, so bright and beautiful Maya felt tears prick her eyes. When they broke apart, she was shaking. That was. Overdue, Matthias said. His forehead rested against hers. I've wanted to do that for weeks. Me too, Maya admitted. But this is insane. We're from different worlds. Then we'll build a bridge, he said simply. Sarah already has. We'll just follow her lead. The door burst open. Helena stood there, her colors pure alarm red. Your Majesty. The purists. They're here. How many? Matthias was already moving, pulling Maya behind him. 20. Maybe more. Surrounding the house. They're demanding you hand over the human and step down from the throne. Matthias's colors went cold. Absolute zero. Lockdown protocol. Guards to Sarah. No one gets inside. He looked at Maya. Go to her. Protect her. I'll handle this. No, Maya said. She grabbed a weapon from the wall. A short blade, silver. You fight, I fight. We, remember? His expression flickered. Then hardened. Stay behind me. They met the purists in the main hall. 20 vampires, all in black, all with colors that swirled with hatred and fanatical conviction. Their leader stepped forward, a woman with white blonde hair and eyes like chips of ice. "Matthias Blackwell," she said. "You have violated the old laws, brought a human into our sacred spaces, corrupted the air with mortal weakness. Step down and deliver the human to us. We'll make her death quick." "Over my dead body," Matthias said quietly. "That can be arranged." She raised her hand. The purists attacked. Maya had never seen Matthias truly fight before. He'd held back in training, moved with restraint. But now, protecting his home and family, he was terrifying, a blur of movement and controlled violence. Every strike precise, every motion efficient. He was a king who'd earned his throne through centuries of battle. And it showed, but 20 against 1, even for a vampire of his power, was too many. Maya saw him take a hit. Then another. His colors flickered, pain threading through the gold. She moved without thinking. Saw a purist coming at Matthias from behind, his colors showing killing intent. Maya's blade found the vampire's side. Silver burned on contact. He screamed, turning on her. Big mistake, because Matthias heard his mate in danger, and something in him snapped. The king became a force of nature. He tore through the purists like they were paper, his movements too fast to follow. Protecting Maya with a ferocity that made even his own guards step back. Within minutes, it was over. Purists unconscious or fled. The hall destroyed but secure. Matthias stood in the center of it, breathing hard, blood on his clothes. His colors were wild, still caught in battle rage. Maya approached slowly. "Matthias." He focused on her. The rage faded, replaced by concern. "Are you hurt?" "Just scared." Maya touched his face. "You were amazing. Terrifying, but amazing. You stabbed a vampire. You could have been killed. So could you. That's why I stabbed him." He laughed, actually laughed, then pulled her close, holding tight. "Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that. If they come for you, I'm fighting. Even if I'm terrible at it. You're not terrible." You read his colors. Knew where he'd strike. "Saved my life." He pulled back to look at her. "You saved me. Again. Making a habit of it," Maya said. "Someone has to. They're going to keep coming, aren't they?" "The purists." "Probably." Matthias's expression hardened. "But I'm done being patient. Done letting them threaten my family. Tomorrow I call the full council. We end this." "How?" "By changing the laws they hide behind." He looked determined. "Dangerous. If they want to kill me for protecting a human, fine. But first I'm going to make it legal for any vampire to form bonds with any human they choose. Make you all equals under our law. Can you do that?" "I'm the king. I can do anything I want." He smiled, but it had teeth. "The question is whether the council will support me. Or try to remove me. That sounds risky. Everything worth doing is." He kissed her forehead. "But I'm not backing down. Not when I've finally found something worth fighting for." Sarah appeared at the top of the stairs, flanked by guards. Her eyes were huge, her colors swirling with fear and concern. But when she saw Maya and Matthias together, both alive and safe, her colors settled. Yellow. Happiness. "You're okay," she said. Her voice still surprised Maya every time. "We're okay," Matthias confirmed. "Come here, little bird." Sarah ran down the stairs and threw herself at them. They caught her together, holding tight. A family forged in crisis and held together by love that didn't care about species or tradition. Tomorrow they'd face the council. Tomorrow they'd fight for the right to exist as they were. But tonight, they had each other. And that was enough. The full council convened at dawn in the Grand Chamber, a space reserved for only the most critical vampire business. 70 representatives from every major family, territory, and faction. all gathered to hear their king propose something that hadn't been done in 500 years. A fundamental change to the old laws. Maya stood behind Matthias's throne, not because she had to, but because he'd asked her to. He wanted them to see her, see what he was fighting for. Sarah sat beside him in a smaller throne, wearing a formal purple dress and a crown that looked too heavy for her small head. But her spine was straight, her colors determined gold. She'd insisted on being there. "This is about our family," she'd said. "I should be here." The chamber went silent as Matthias stood. He wore his formal regalia, black and silver, crown and cape. Every inch the ancient king. But his colors showed what Maya knew was underneath. Determination. Love. Hope for a better future. "Members of the council," he began. His voice carried through the vast space. "I come before you to propose a change to the old laws, specifically, the laws regarding human and vampire relations." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Matthias raised a hand for silence. "For 5 centuries we have maintained strict separation. Humans are food or thralls. Never equals. Never family. This law was created to protect us from attachment, from the pain of loving beings who age and die in what feels like moments to our kind." A vampire in silver robes stood. "Lord Castellan," Matthias acknowledged. "You wish to speak?" "The separation protects them too," Lord Castellan said. His colors were dark blue. Genuine concern, not malice. "Humans who get involved with vampires often meet terrible ends. We've all seen it." Matthias nodded. "You're right. Which is why my proposal includes protections. Any human who forms a bond with a vampire would have legal status. Rights. Protection under our law. They couldn't be fed on without consent, couldn't be thralled or controlled, would be treated as equals in the eyes of our courts." "Impossible," a woman called out. "Lady Margaret, the vampire from the previous council meeting. How would we enforce such a thing?" "The same way we enforce any law," Matthias said, "with consequences for those who violate it. Any vampire who harms a bonded human would face the same punishment as if they'd harmed another vampire." "But the aging," another voice said. "The death. How do you protect them from that?" "You don't," Matthias said quietly. "That's the cost. But it should be the human's choice to pay it, not ours to prevent. If a human wants to love a vampire, knowing they'll age while we don't, that's their decision, not ours to make for them." He paused. Looked at Maya. She nodded encouragement. "I have personal experience with this," Matthias continued. "Maya Winters has lived in my household for 3 months. In that time, she has saved my daughter's life, saved my sanity, exposed a plot against the council, and helped defend our home from purist attack." He turned to face the assembly. "She has done more for this kingdom in 3 months than some vampires do in 3 centuries. And she did it while being treated as lesser, as temporary, as something we could discard when convenient." His colors blazed. "That ends today. I am bonding with Maya Winters. Formally. Permanently. She will be recognized as my partner with all the rights and protections that entails." The chamber erupted. Shouts of support and outrage tangled together. Matthias let them argue for a moment, then raised his hand again. Silence fell. "I'm not asking permission," he said. "I'm informing you of my decision. But I am asking you to change the law so that any vampire, not just your king, can make the same choice, so that love, when it finds us, isn't illegal." A young vampire stood. His colors were hopeful yellow. "I support this. My sister is in love with a human. She's been hiding it for years, terrified of being exiled. If this passes, she could finally be honest." Another rose. Then another. Stories spilled out. Secret relationships. Hidden families. Vampires who'd loved humans and been forced to choose between their hearts and their community. Matthias hadn't expected this. Maya could see it in his colors, the surprise mixing with growing hope. "How many?" he asked. "How many of you have been affected by these laws?" Nearly half the room stood. Maya's breath caught. This wasn't a small group. This was a significant portion of their society, all hiding, all afraid. "The old laws," Matthias said slowly, "serve no one but those who fear change." He looked at Lady Margaret, at the older vampires whose colors showed resistance. "I understand your concerns. Truly, you've lived centuries watching humans you cared for age and die. You've built walls to protect yourselves from that pain. But walls keep out joy as much as sorrow, and I won't live behind them anymore." Lady Margaret stood. Her colors swirled. Conflict and old grief fighting with something that might be understanding. "You would risk everything for this human?" "For the principle of choice," Matthias corrected. "Maya is important to me, yes. But this is bigger than us. This is about building a society where love isn't a crime. Where our children," he gestured to Sarah, "can form bonds with whoever makes them happy, without fear of punishment." Long silence. Then Lady Margaret nodded slowly. "Put it to a vote." Matthias looked at the council secretary. "All in favor of changing the old laws to allow voluntary bonding between vampires and humans, with full legal protections for both parties, indicate now." Hands raised, Maya counted, her heart hammering. 48 out of 70. Not everyone, but a solid majority. Matthias's colors exploded gold. "The motion passes," the secretary said. "Let the record show that on this day, the old laws were amended. Vampire-human bonds are now legal and protected." Cheers erupted from half the room. The other half sat in stunned silence. But no one challenged it. The law was changed. Matthias turned to Maya, held out his hand. She took it. And together in front of the entire council, they sealed their bond. The ceremony was simple, an exchange of words, a mingling of blood. Maya felt the bond snap into place like a golden thread connecting her heart to his. Suddenly she could feel his emotions without seeing his colors, could sense his presence even when he wasn't near. It was intimate, and overwhelming, and perfect. "You're stuck with me now," she whispered. "Always," he whispered back. The celebration that followed lasted into the night. Vampires who'd been hiding human partners brought them to the mansion, introducing them openly for the first time. Stories were shared, tears shed. Laughter rang through halls that had been too serious for too long. Sarah conducted herself through it all like the princess she was, accepting congratulations and giving her own. But late in the evening, she found Maya on a quiet balcony. "You changed everything," Sarah said. Her speaking voice was getting stronger daily. "You changed your dad," Maya corrected. "I just helped him see it." Sarah shook her head. "You made us a family. Made it okay to be different. Made Dad remember how to love." She hugged Maya tight. "Thank you." Maya held her, this brave little girl who'd taught them all what strength really meant. "Thank you for letting me in. For trusting me. For speaking again." "I didn't speak for you," Sarah said seriously. "I spoke because I had things to say. And you taught me it was safe to say them. That being heard was possible." She pulled back. "Will you stay? Forever? If your dad lets me." Matthias appeared in the doorway. His colors were soft gold, content in a way Maya had never seen. "I'll let you," he said. "If you'll have us, a king, a traumatized child, and a house full of complicated vampire politics." Maya pretended to think about it. Tough choice. But yeah, I'll stay. Sarah cheered. Matthias crossed the balcony and pulled them both close. His family, chosen and loved and finally whole. Below them, the city sparkled with lights. Somewhere out there the purists were likely regrouping, planning their next move, but for tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight they had won something bigger than a battle. They'd won the right to love openly, to build a family across the lines that were supposed to divide them, to choose each other every day despite the complications. Maya looked at her colors reflected in the window. They'd changed since she'd arrived here. Less gray exhaustion, more vibrant gold and blue and purple, the colors of happiness, of being seen, of home. "Are you happy?" Matthias asked quietly. Maya looked at him, at Sarah, at the life they'd built together in just a few months. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," she said. "With exactly who I'm supposed to be with." And that, despite everything, was enough. 3 months after the law changed, Maya stood in front of a classroom of 12 humans, all of whom had recently bonded with vampires. Teaching people how to navigate their new lives had become her unofficial job, and she was surprisingly good at it. "The key," she said, gesturing to the chart behind her, "is understanding that emotions will feel different through the bond. Stronger. Sometimes overwhelming. You need to learn to differentiate between what you're feeling and what they're feeling." A woman in the front row raised her hand. "How do you handle the age difference? Knowing you'll grow old and they won't?" Maya had prepared for this question. Expected it, but it still hurt. "Honestly? You don't handle it. You accept it. Every day is a choice to love them anyway. To make the time you have matter more than the time you don't." The class nodded, but Maya could see their worry. She gentled her voice. "I won't lie and say it doesn't scare me. Sometimes I look at Matthias and think about him watching me age, watching me die. But then I remember that every human faces mortality. At least I get to face it loved. That helps." The woman smiled. "Thank you. That actually does help." After class, Matthias was waiting in the hallway. He'd started doing that, showing up to walk her home like they were normal people with normal relationships. "How was it?" he asked, falling into step beside her. "Good. Hard questions today." "There usually are." He took her hand. Their bond hummed contentedly, 2 pieces of a puzzle clicking together. "Have you thought about my proposal?" Matthias had asked her to marry him last week, a vampire wedding, complete with blood oaths and ancient ceremonies that would bind them even deeper than the bond already did. Maya had asked for time to think, not because she didn't want to marry him, but because marriage meant facing the one thing she'd been avoiding: the age gap. "I've thought about it," she said carefully. And I have a counter-proposal." His eyebrows rose. "I'm listening. I'll marry you, but I want to become a vampire." Matthias stopped walking, stared at her. "Maya, it's the only thing that makes sense," she said. She'd practiced this speech. "If we're going to build a life together, I don't want it to end in 50 years. I want forever. The same forever you have." "Turning is dangerous," Matthias said. His colors were conflicted, gold hope fighting with dark blue fear, especially for adults. "There's a chance you won't survive the transformation. I know. I've read everything I could find, but I also know that if I stay human, I'll watch Sarah grow up and old while her vampire family stays young. I'll become fragile while you're still strong. I'll die while you still have centuries ahead of you." She met his eyes. "I don't want that. For any of us, what if it changes you? Makes you different? Then you'll help me figure out who I become. Same way I helped you figure out how to be a father again." His hand cupped her face. "You've thought this through." "Completely?" "Yes. I want forever with you. All of it. The good and the complicated, and the centuries stretching ahead. I want to teach Sarah about colors and emotions for her whole life, not just a fraction of it. I want to grow with you, not away from you." Matthias's colors went supernova gold. Whenever you're ready. Now, he said. If you're certain. Now. Because I've been terrified of asking you to turn since the day we bonded. Didn't want you to feel pressured. But God, Maya, I want forever with you too. They were married in a ceremony that blended vampire tradition with human elements. Sarah stood as Maya's maid of honor, wearing a dress that matched her stepmother's. The entire council attended, along with dozens of bonded couples who'd come out of hiding after the law changed. Matthias spoke his vows in the ancient vampire tongue, then translated for Maya's benefit. I bind myself to you across all time. Your joys are my joys, your sorrows my sorrows. Until the stars burn out and the world ends, you are mine and I am yours. Maya's vows were simpler. I choose you. Today and every day after. In this life and whatever comes next. Forever. The turning happened that night. Maya had researched extensively, knew what to expect. The process was brutal. Matthias would drain her to the edge of death, then give her his blood to drink. The transformation would take 3 days, during which her body would die and remake itself. Many didn't survive. But Maya trusted him. Trusted the bond between them. Trusted that if anyone could guide her through this, it was Matthias. Are you ready? He asked. They were in their private chambers, Sarah asleep in the next room under guard. Yes. Tell me what you need. Just hold me, Maya said. And don't let go. He didn't. His fangs pierced her throat with surprisingly little pain. The bond flared, carrying waves of his love and grief and desperate hope. Maya felt her life drain away, felt herself growing cold and distant. At the edge of darkness, Matthias's wrist pressed to her lips. Drink, he commanded. She did. His blood tasted like metal and magic and everything wild. Power flooded through her, her body convulsed, rejecting and accepting the transformation simultaneously. The last thing she heard before unconsciousness took her was Matthias's voice. I've got you. I won't let go. I promise. 3 days later, Maya woke to a world painted in impossible detail. She could hear heartbeats in the next room, could smell individual scents from miles away, could see in the dark like it was noon, and the colors. Oh God, the colors. Every emotion blazed 10 times brighter, not just around others but within herself. She could see her own feelings now, swirling through her like liquid light. You survived, Matthias said. He was sitting beside the bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Relief colored his entire being. I survived, Maya confirmed. Her voice sounded different, clearer. How do you feel? Strong, fast, hungry. He smiled. That's normal. We'll teach you to control it. But first, he helped her stand, led her to a mirror. Maya barely recognized herself. Same face but sharper, more defined. Her eyes had changed color, shifting from brown to deep amber, and around her, like a living thing, her colors swirled, gold and blue and vibrant purple, all the emotions she'd spent her life seeing in others now visible in herself. I'm beautiful, she said, surprised. You were always beautiful, Matthias corrected. Now you just see yourself the way I've always seen you. The door burst open. Sarah stood there, eyes huge, then she launched herself at Maya. You made it. You're okay. Maya caught her easily. Her new vampire strength made Sarah feel light as air. I'm okay, little bird. I'm not going anywhere. You promise? Forever, Maya said, looking at Matthias, at this family they'd built against all odds. I promise forever. The first year of Maya's vampire life was an adjustment. She had to learn to control her strength, her speed, her hunger. Had to navigate a world that suddenly seemed fragile around her. But she had Matthias to guide her, had Sarah to keep her grounded, had a community of bonded vampires and humans who understood what she was going through. She continued teaching, now with first-hand experience of both sides. Helped newly turned vampires understand their transformations. Counseled humans considering the change. became a bridge between worlds in ways she'd never imagined. The purists tried one more attack, 6 months into her new life. But Maya was ready this time. She fought beside Matthias, her colors reading ability now enhanced by vampire senses. Together they were unstoppable. The purists retreated and didn't return. Some threats, it seemed, knew when they were beaten. 5 years after Maya first fell asleep on a vampire king's lap, she stood in that same classroom teaching another group of bonded humans. But now she could tell them from experience. Yes, the transformation is hard. Yes, forever is scary. But love, real love, is worth every risk. A young woman raised her hand. Do you regret it? Becoming a vampire? Maya thought about it. Really thought. About the humanity she'd left behind. The mortal life she'd never have. Then she thought about Sarah, now 11 and flourishing. About Matthias, her partner in every sense. About the family and community they'd built. About waking up every morning knowing she had centuries to love them all. No, she said simply. Not even for a second. That evening, she found Matthias and Sarah in the garden. They'd planted roses together, creating a memorial for Sarah's mother. The garden had become a place of peace for all of them. How was class? Matthias asked as Maya settled beside him on the bench. Good. Asked if I regretted the transformation. His colors flickered with old worry. You said? That I'd choose you again. Every time. Every version of this story. She leaned against him. Sarah curled up on her other side. Around them, the roses bloomed. The city hummed with life, and 3 people who should never have become a family sat together in perfect peace, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that Maya could finally see in all their glory. Do you think we'll be okay? Sarah asked. Long term? Maya and Matthias exchanged glances. We're already okay, Matthias said. We're more than okay. We're extraordinary, and that, despite all the complications and challenges and centuries stretching ahead, was the absolute truth.